Welcome to Political Perspectives. I'm Hugo Gurdon, Editor-in-Chief of The Washington Examiner. If you're joining us on YouTube, please like and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to see you here again. I'm joined by Byron, the Chief Political Correspondent for The Examiner. And Byron, figures have just come out on the economy showing that GDP growth was 3% last month. Part of this was higher than expected. Part of it was a bounce back from the sort of excess imports that people imported in the first quarter to try and beat the tariffs. So there's perhaps a slight exaggeration here, but economists do say that this makes recession less likely. It's stronger figures than they expected. This is another big win for President Trump, isn't it?
It is, and it's a loss for the people in the Democratic Party who were screaming about this the first time around. Remember the report of GDP for the first quarter of 2025, that's January, February, March, went down by 0.5%, half a percentage point. And immediately you heard Democrats from Charles Schumer on down say he's crashing the economy. And if you Google it, crashing the economy, you'll just see hundreds of quotes from them where they said this. And at the time, we knew that the reason it went down was because businesses were trying to get their affairs in order and prepare for coming tariffs.
Right.
That is, they were importing more stuff. And the D in gross domestic product is domestic. So those imports took away from the domestic part. And everybody at the time, knowledgeable commentators said, well, this is unnaturally low because of all of these sort of anticipatory imports that business is doing. And sure enough, they're importing less in the second quarter, and now you have growth of 3%. So maybe it's a little less than that without the tariff factor, but it's reasonable, solid economic growth. And you're absolutely right. President Trump can say, look, all you people who were screaming about it, we're doing fine.
Another area where Trump is going to get bragging rights and where people were saying the sky was going to fall was on the trade deal that he's just done with the EU, his trade and investment. Even those people who generally try to find nothing that Trump does successful have acknowledged that he absolutely cleaned up on this deal and got a terrific deal. It's going to help him both on the tariff, explaining tariffs to the country, but also to help him get better deals, isn't it? Isn't this another one where it makes the Democrats look really uncomfortable and having got it wrong?
Yes, remember TACO stands for Trump always chickens out. And
Right.
it happened, and Democrats embraced the whole idea of taco. I think, as a matter of fact, Eric Swalwell made a video of himself eating a taco to illustrate that
Right.
Trump always chickens out somehow. And the idea is that Trump would threaten a high tariff with a country, and then Trump would either lower the threatened tariff, or he would give the country more time to figure things out before the tariff was imposed. So this was viewed that Trump didn't have the courage of his own convictions and that he was chickening out on everything. And now we're getting deal after deal after deal because, I mean, they can't be negotiated overnight.
Right.
And, I think the really big factor here is Trump's belief in the United States. Because here's the thing. At the bottom, at the foundation of all of these negotiations about tariffs is the fact that the United States is so big and so powerful and so rich that if you're a foreign nation, you just can't stand up to it. And you just can't tell the United States to get lost. You have to bend a little bit. And we saw Ursula von der Leyen, the head of the EU, say, well, 15% is certainly not what we wanted. We don't like it, but it's the best that we could get.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump recognized that the United States is a powerful nation, and a lot of other people apparently didn't.
Yeah, I think this is one of those, it's the United States is so big and so powerful, and with President Trump, what people are seeing as a president who has a strong prejudice in favor of his own country. What they have seen with other presidents and other administrations in the past, and particularly with Democrats, is a willingness to not do things that benefit America, do things that benefit other people, and say, well, we're big enough to take it. This is lopsided, it isn't really fair, but we're big enough to take it. That's not the attitude that the president now has, is it?
Well said. That's exactly what's going on. And you're right. There's so many American policies that are essentially the United States giving things to the world. And we are rich and we can do that. So if, if there's a tapeworm in Africa and we can send medicine there to fix it, then we can do that. We can afford to do that kind of stuff. On the other hand, on the basics of trade, where you have trade deficits that are hundreds of billions of dollars, and you have a country like China taking actual advantage of the United States, it's time for the United States to flex its muscles, which are pretty significant. And that's what Trump is doing.
Right. Let's turn to the Democrats. You mentioned the ridiculous Eric Swalwell, eating a taco, and to try and make his point. What's going on with the Democrats? I mean, these things look to me somewhat desperate, because why are they moving in this direction? Why are they focusing on that? It doesn't seem like that public approval has been falling, and the Wall Street Journal has reported it's at its lowest for like 3.5 decades.
That was that poll got a lot of attention. Basically, the Democrats have their lowest approval since 1990, 35 years, 33% approval, 63% disapproval. They're 30 points underwater. And that's a lot more than the Republicans or President Trump, okay? And one fascinating thing in this poll was that, they always ask, do you approve or disapprove of the job Trump is doing handling the economy or trade or foreign policy or whatever? And then they ask the same question about Democrats and Republicans in Congress. Who do you trust more to handle this or that? Well, people disapproved of the job that Trump is doing. And then they were asked, well, who do you trust most to handle it in the future? And it was Republicans,
right,
and in every category.
Right.
So it's like the public, which often expresses dissatisfaction with everything, says, no, we don't approve of this, but we really don't approve of Democrats. So I thought that was absolutely terrible news for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, it really is terrible news. So one of the things that the Democrats are doing, presumably to try and help their case that Trump should be opposed and that they are better in government, they're turning to try and stir up more controversy relating to the Jeffrey Epstein case. He's now been dead for some years. The relationship with Trump, I think you have written, has been known about publicly for more than 20 years. Is this a plausible or likely to be effective strategy or tactic by the Democrats?
Well, first we should say that we don't know every single thing about the relationship or the friendship of Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, which began more than 35 years ago, sometimes in the late 1980s, and ended 21 years ago in 2004. So is there some revelation out there that will shock us both? I mean, I can't say definitely no, but we can say that this friendship has been looked at for a long time. And it's been looked at by journalists who would love to get something bad on Trump. And it's been looked at by justice departments controlled by Democrats who had law enforcement powers. And we just haven't seen any evidence of wrongdoing by Donald Trump. And so to connect that to what we were just talking about, you've got a situation in which the Democrats are at their worst approval in 35 years, 30 points underwater in approval ratings. And they say, wow, let's do more Jeffrey Epstein. Maybe that will do it. it's probably not going to do it.
Yeah,
And if you look at the polls, a lot of people say they think there must be something, quote, embarrassing
right.
in the Epstein files. Well, maybe there is,
Yeah.
but in terms of the home run that the Democrats are looking for, probably not there.
Yeah, it's a while back. I think it was the Washington Post sort of fact checker, just looked into this, and the Washington Post came out and saying, years ago that they didn't expect anything to be an extraordinary revelation relating to Trump and Epstein. So, even a partisan organization like the Washington Post has already done its own investigations and doesn't expect anything dramatic. The final thing I wanted to raise is it seems to me that one of the reasons why the Democrats want to talk about Epstein and which seems to me to some extent a distraction, is there's a civil war going on inside the Democrats. It's actually easier for them to continue to say Trump is terrible, than to talk about themselves, because you've got some in the party who think that the party should be going further left, essentially embracing socialism across the board. You've got others who say, no, it's already gone too far left. So the Democrats, it's very difficult for them to propose policies that are going to be sort of something positive for voters to be attracted to, because they don't agree amongst themselves about what their policies should be. And so they have to rely not on talking about themselves and what they would do, but to talk about the faults that they see in Trump.
Well, you have Democratic socialists who are not ashamed of being called Democratic socialists, apparently heading for the mayor's office in New York City and Minneapolis. And you have exactly this kind of fight that you're talking about, where you have the Democratic socialists and the people on the far left. You have mainstream Democrats nervous about embracing the Democratic Socialists, but also realizing they're probably going to win
Right.
and be forces that they have to be reckoned with. Right now, in terms of leadership, we should say, just to be fair to the Democrats, when a party is out of power, that is, they don't hold the White House, they don't hold the House, they don't hold the Senate, they don't have a leader. I mean,
Right.
there's no leader in the Democratic Party, and that's pretty darn clear. So
Yeah.
what they're hoping for now is to be able to win control in the midterms of at least one House of Congress. And if it's the House of Representatives, um, then they can impeach President Trump, and maybe that will do the trick for 2028. Not sure it will, but
Yeah.
I would expect that if they won control of the House, they would impeach Trump pretty quickly. So that's kind of what they've got right now. And in terms of actually making the economy better, in terms of making the United States stronger, Trump seems to be at the wheel
Right.
now. And I think the last thing is the bigger picture. In his second term, I think people are getting the sense that Trump really knows how to be president of the United States.
Right.
And they see him as a very strong leader. They don't see him as perfect. They have things they don't like about him.
Right.
But when they look at the opposition, he is so much bigger than they are.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Perhaps the third impeachment, third time lucky, but it seems
Yeah,
pretty
there you go.
implausible to me. That's where we'll leave it. Byron, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And I want to thank all the viewers for being here. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, please do like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time on Political Perspectives.